Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Daily Compliance News for March 26, 2025, the Missile Strike on Boeing edition. And we begin with that story from the Wall Street Journal in the business section. Dave Michaels reporting that the trial court judge in Texas has ordered Boeing and the Department of Justice to go to trial in the 737 MAX case. The order came a day after the Wall Street Journal reported that Boeing was seeking to withdraw from an earlier agreement to plead guilty and get the Trump Justice Department to drop all charges. Boeing and the DOJ were expected to propose these changes to the court on April 11th. However, on Tuesday, U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor scrapped the deadline and ordered the two parties to prepare to appear for trial on June 23rd. He had earlier rejected the proposed plea agreement, and now he sounds like he is tired of haggling on issues that should have been resolved long ago. Paul Castle, an attorney for the families whose relatives perished in the crashes, said, quote, "This seems like a cruise missile striking into the Boeing C-suite," end quote. So the judge is serious. The parties have to get off their duffs, and they're going to have to make a decision. Is the Trump DOJ going to drop all charges? We'll just have to see. Next up from the New York Times Deal Book, off-channel communications. How often have we talked about that in the compliance context? Billions of dollars of fines. And why? Because they allow the information to be wiped away. And in the government, this violates the record keeping of federal securities or federal laws around how the government has to keep records and keep those documents for national archives. And now the Trump administration has been caught using off-channel communications. Now, the way they were caught is one of the most stupid and inexplicable ways. They put a journalist on a text chain about the strike into Yemen against the Houthis with classified material, military plans, down to individual targets. So you have to wonder about just not how idiotic the Trump administration is, but how stupid they are. Next up from Reuters, former FIFA chief Sepp Blatter and Michael Platini were cleared of corruption charges in a Swiss court Tuesday, 2.5 years after they were first acquitted of the sentences. The hearing came as prosecutors appealed the acquittal, and the appeal was not successful. So somehow these two skated. It was one of the most clear corruption scandals in a long time, and it rocked the sporting world when it was initially announced. Our final story today comes to us from the BBC, which reports that China has released 5 staff members of the U.S. due diligence firm Mintz Group 2 years after they were detained as a part of a crackdown on consulting firms working with foreign businesses. This appears to be a part of the Chinese goodwill program to get companies to come back. But I would ask you, do you want to move you and your family to China and risk being arrested for good reason, bad reason, or in the case of Chinese and the Mintz Group, no reason? The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.